arrest the auctioneer. Went to the auction, arrested the auctioneer. Because I witnessed a felony. If you witness a felony, you're supposed to make an arrest. They were violating my rights under the color of law. That's a felony under the United States Code. And so, but the police, when you arrest someone, you're supposed to get the police to come and take custody of the felon. And so we called the cops, and they started building a case against me for disturbing the peace. So immediately I figured that out, and I started sending my notices to them. And I sent notice to the chief of police. Well, let's go on. Well, that's in the next one here. Right. I sent notice and demand to the chief of police, the police officers themselves, the town attorney, and the judge. In the town of Warrants, which is the town that I did this in, sent their straw man a summons. And I attached the summons together with the notices that I'd already sent them to a criminal complaint and sent that back to them. And I sent the criminal complaint okay. I sent notice and demands to the Pinal County Sheriff, to Maricopa. Yes, okay. Anyways, I sent the criminal complaint to the Chief Judge, the Attorney General, and the County Sheriff and said, you've got a criminal racketeering enterprise operating in the town of Florence, and I demand that you protect my rights, and I demand that you prosecute these criminals. Of course, they never did anything. But that's okay, because I still continued on in my system. Anyways, then I sent notice and demands to the Pinal County Sheriff, the Maricopa County Sheriff, the Casa Grande Chief of Police, the Arizona Attorney General, the Chief Judge of the Arizona Supreme Court, and the Phoenix Chief of Police. And that was also when I was sending it to the U.S. Attorney and the FBI Special Agent in Charge and the U.S. Marshals, all in Arizona, and all the rest of it. Invite them all to the party. Yes?
What happened to the property?
Oh, they stole my house. But this was an issue of disturbing the peace. Separate issue. That's a criminal offense. It's a misdemeanor. Anyways, they stole my house, but, and this is off point, but I had previously brought forward the land patent on the house, and so the guy that bought the house can't sell it. He's stuck with the house. He can't sell it. He's renting it out because that's all he can ever get out of it is rent. And at some point, we're going to get de jure government back, and then I'll go get my house back because I got lawful title. So it ain't over. It's never over. Then what happened is they issued a warrant for the arrest of their straw man. And the reason I know that is I called the court up. I said, so here's the case number. I'm the representative for the defendant in this case. What's the status on this case? And they said, oh, they've issued a warrant. Oh, okay, thank you. Hang it up. So I knew something was cooking, right? This was on a long weekend. I was at work. It wasn't on a long weekend. It was on a Friday before a long weekend. Now you have to understand what's happening here, okay? And what they do is they want you in jail for 3 days, okay? Because when they have you in jail for 3 days, the International Monetary Fund pays them $70,000. So that's pretty good money, right? They get a nice royalty from that, okay? All of this is coming from the International Monetary Fund, okay? Anyways, and this has been going on for centuries. They used to do exactly the same thing. The Archbishop of Canterbury used to own a lot of the jails in England, and he used to make all sorts of money doing that stuff. This is not anything new. I can show you this goes back to the Old Testament. This is two classes of citizens. What does it say in the Old Testament? It says, make one law for the strangers and those born in the land, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Does anybody get that? They're making us strangers so they can enslave us. And the children of Israel were strangers in Egypt, and that's why they were enslaved. That's exactly what's going on. Anyways, so what happened is they sent a bounty hunter to my work. And because I had already accepted the oath of office of all the police and the sheriffs and anybody that might be involved in something like that. So what happened is I come to work after lunch, And my fellow workers said, there was a big guy here looking for you. This is on a Friday before a long weekend, and I figured, oh, I bet I know who that is. So anyways, so what I did is I figured, well, you know, I think I'm going to leave early today. See you guys later. And I was already preparing a lawsuit. I knew something was going down, okay? Because what has to happen is they have to let a warrant season for about 30 days before they'll do anything about it, eh? And so this warrant, it was about 30 days after they issued the warrant. And so, anyways, I went home, and as I was driving out of the parking lot, I passed this yellow van that was coming in. That was all caged in inside. Yeah. So I passed him just at the right time. He saw me. He didn't see me. He just drove right up past me. Anyways, so I went home. I finished up my lawsuit. Monday was a holiday. Tuesday morning, I filed the lawsuit. And by the way, I don't pay filing fees. I never pay filing fees. And they take them. Supreme Court. I told them they didn't have any right to turn my case away, and they didn't have any right to charge me any fees. And I have, you know, a bunch of arguments. For example, I got a Supreme Court case that says that income is corporate profit. Did you know that? And if you're not a corporation, then you have no income. So I don't have any income. Assets, liabilities are all on corporate balance sheets. I have property. I told them I have property, but they're not assets. And they want to know who my spouse is. Well, I don't have a spouse. I got a wife, but she's not a spouse. And I have children, but they're not persons. And just go down the list. Anyways, the Supreme Court accepted my case, and there was no fees, both times. And other courts have done it too. Anyways, so on Monday I filed my lawsuit. And then I sent a notice of demand to the Chief Judge of the Supreme Court of Arizona by registered mail, and I ordered her to quash the warrant for the arrest of the straw man. And I said, quote, because we all know that the corporate commercial agents, the police in brackets, are too stupid to tell the difference between a sovereign living soul and a straw man vessel, unquote. And then I said, furthermore, Chief Judge, I filed this lawsuit, and here's the case number, and you're named in it. And if you don't quash this warrant for the arrest of this straw man vessel, it'll be further proof of your dereliction of duty to regulate your subordinates. And she quashed the warrant. You know why I know? Because the Attorney General responded for the Chief Judge in the lawsuit, and the Attorney General said it's perfectly appropriate that I petition the Chief Judge to get the warrant quashed. And so, but she didn't really quash it. She got him off my back though, because they didn't come looking for me anymore. And what happened is that warrant is still there. And the reason I know is that I've been in communication with the town attorney. I filed it wasn't a commercial lien, it was kind of like a commercial lien, against the town of Florence. And the town attorney sent me a letter saying that this warrant is still there and it's going to be there forever. And all you have to do is pay $350 and it'll go away. And yeah, I could pay $350, but it's the principle of the thing. You know, I'm a kind of in-your-face sort of guy, and I'm not required to pay it. So you know. Anyway, so what happened is that warrant is still there, but they don't bother me. They wouldn't come looking for me. They leave me alone. And what happened is last Christmas, I was in Arizona, and I told you I got in a car accident, and the police came. And remember that other warrant? The other, not warrant, that other photo radar thing, right? And that wasn't on the record at all, but this warrant was still there. And the cops, they found the warrant, and they knew it was me, or my straw man, and they made all sorts of threats, and they said, you know, all sorts of stuff. We could take you in right now. This was where I got in the accident was in Pinal County. It was like 20 miles away from the town of Florence, and it was in Pinal County, and there's a Pinal County sheriff that came to see me, and Florence is the county seat for Pinal County. And so, I mean, these are the guys that are going to take me in if they're gonna, but they didn't. Didn't take me in. They said, they jumped up and down and made all sorts of threats and says, take care of that. And I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And I did. I filed another criminal complaint.
Saw that coming.
I sent notice and demands to the county sheriffs and all of that too. So, and then I filed another criminal complaint against the judge and the prosecutor and all that stuff. But so, anyways, so they know I took care of it because they got a copy. So anyways, let's move the slides down a little bit. Right, this is going through all of that stuff. After my vacation, I went to work and nobody ever came looking for me. Never got bothered. The lawsuit was going on, and I lost ultimately the lawsuit got dismissed. And then I filed another lawsuit after that. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from filing lawsuits all day long. Anyways, on May 11th, oh, this was, I already told you about this one. Case disappeared. On the 22nd of February this year, Arizona Department of Public Safety sent their straw man a photo radar ticket. I sent a notice of demand to the DPS officers, the Department of Public Safety, the Director of Public Safety, the Arizona Attorney General, and the judge. I filed a criminal, and then, instead of waiting to see if it would go away, I went ahead and filed a criminal complaint against them. I'm getting tired of this stuff. And so I filed a criminal complaint against them all for perjury of oath, treason, and sedition to the Constitution. Why do you think it's sedition? Do you understand sedition?
No.
Okay, sedition is making war against the government. Okay? And the government is we the people. In Canada as well. The Magna Carta says it's we the people. And they have military uniforms, they have the guns, they're the ones that are making war. And I am the government. That's exactly what they're doing, is they're making war against the government. That's sedition, that's the definition of sedition. Treason is breach of trust. They perjured their oath of office, that's treason by definition. Anyways, as a result of that, I guess, I don't know, I think they said something about a Supreme Court ruling, but you know, it's amazing how some of that stuff comes up at the right time. They canceled the photo radar program. They don't do that in Arizona anymore. Wow. And they sent me a notice that they're canceling the straw man's driver's license. Damn the bad luck. I don't show it to anybody anyways, except when I rent a car. That's the only time I ever bring it out, is if I want to rent a car. So, and that's all actually in this package right here. Where is it?
That one. I don't know.
I guess I didn't make a copy of that. No, I didn't. I didn't make a copy of that. But that's what they did.
Next.
I didn't want to, you know, here's off the internet, Arizona shuts down freeway speed cameras.
Because of you.
Maybe, maybe not. Certainly, if you don't say something, you know, my attitude is that if I know it's wrong and I don't do something, then I'm at least partially responsible when they violate the next guy's rights. So I have to do something. And I just have to do it in the best way that I can, because that's all I can do. And so I just go for the juggler, and I build a case against them, and I just nail them every possible way I can. And you gotta understand, any kind of civil litigation, it's like throwing mud against a wall. You never know what's gonna stick. You had your hand up back there?
I was just gonna make a comment, I think they shot Kennedy for less.
Might have, eh? That's okay, it's great. I think this is hell, quite frankly, with all the criminals running around. So the sooner I'm out of here, the better. If something like that happens to me, be happy for me.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the letter from the Department of Public Safety. It says here, the Office of Inspector General has discovered, see what happened. I don't have the actual one here, but it's a standard form letter that I send them, except I personalize it. But so what I do is I say, I'm an inhabitant of the land of Texas, currently traveling on the land of, actually in this case this was New York, I said. And I'm a sovereign living soul and a holder of the office of the people. And I'm not a U.S. citizen, so-called 14th Amendment citizen or other fictitious entity. And then I go through my, spiel. Anyways, now if you read this thing, they're going after the U.S. citizen issue. It says here, no response to this request will result in your license being canceled. Whoa. It says, on your appointment date, you need to bring original documents of birth certificate, social security card, birth identity, resident address, old licenses. If you're not born in the United States or not a citizen of the United States, you need to bring a certificate of naturalization, passport, resident card, U.S., Anyways, they're wanting to know. See, I told them I'm not a U.S. citizen. So they're going to cancel my license because I'm not a U.S. citizen. Well, woohoo! Great. Go ahead, cancel it. I don't ever bring it up anyways. And on top of that, get a load of this.
It's outdated out there.
Huh?
It's outdated.
Oh no. Oh no. It doesn't expire till I'm 65. So it'll be great for getting rental cars. It says here expires 2022. Sad. 12 years from now.
The driver's license you keep back.
In Arizona, that's when they expire, when you turn 65. My 20-year-old son's expires when he turns 65 too.
Nice.
That's what they do in Arizona. That's why I keep it. The only time I need it is to rent a car, because I sent them in my letter, in my notice that I sent them, I tell them, I'm an inhabitant of the land of Texas, and according to the Texas courts, there's no such thing as a driver's license, so I won't have one. And, but I will have it. I show them my photo ID, and I got some other stuff I give them. And so if you don't give them a driver's license, there's no contract. They got nothing to go after you for. It's like it's fatal to their case, to their agenda, to what they're doing. No driver's license. They got nothing to say. Never, ever, again, if you understand, you don't have a driver's license. They want to see my driver's license? I don't have one. I don't. Straw man has one, but that's not me. Anytime you get a letter from the government or any corporation that's an offer of contract, all you have to do is reject their offer within 3 days. Here's the notice that I put on there. This is for Canada. This is part of it. It's in red ink, and it's at 45 degrees across the letter. You get a letter. And it's basically, I, by affidavit, am a declared Canadian sovereign standing on treaty law of God to accept your offer for value and for the following reasons of returning your offer rejected for discharge and closure. Now this is getting into commerce a little bit, okay? For those of you who are into the commerce part of it. You have brought Canada corporate law with color outside your jurisdiction without an international treaty with my republic state, and you have no jurisdiction on the land of Alberta, and they don't. Their paperwork says Province of Alberta in all block capital letters. That's a municipal corporation. That's a subcorporation of the municipal corporation called Canada in all block capital letters. And that's domiciled in the District of Columbia. They have no authority here on the land of Alberta. Don't have a shred of authority. Now there's another jurisdiction called the Province of Alberta in upper lowercase. That's our de jure government. That's the one that we can regain control of.
Get behind.
That's right. That's, now the one on the license plates, that Alberta, that's the registered trademark, okay? That is a registered trademark of the Province of Alberta with all block capital letters. There's two separate entities. There's actually three, because the third entity is the land of Alberta, which there's no government on the land of Alberta. The government on the land of Alberta is the Province of Alberta in upper lowercase. But that de jure government has nothing to say to the people. It's only their municipal corporation that tries to get the people into all sorts of contracts and stuff. And that's a for-profit corporation that's owned by international banksters, you know, and they're wanting to make a profit.
These guys are criminals.
Next paragraph, you have falsely accused me of being a citizen of Canada. You're trespassing and criminally attempting to convert corporate statutes with color into lawful criminal codes without chartered regulatory and delegated jurisdictional authority. You're not registered or chartered for conducting business in Alberta by my republic state. They're not. They're a bunch of pirates operating on the high seas of commerce looking for some prize. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
Finally, you fail to state a lawful claim upon which relief can be granted. That's what I put across, 45-degree angle. It's the one I use. I haven't used any here, but it's basically the same thing, only I've done it in the States all the time. And of course it's different because it's in the States. If I get an offer of contract from a corporation, I send them an invoice. And then I rarely hear from them again. If I get an offer of contract from a government, I send them a notice of demand with an invoice and then see what happens. Sometimes I have to escalate it. And this is what I already told you about the car accident in Arizona. My son Nelson, he's 17 years older, he's 20 now. And I gave him my truck. And he was driving it, and it was registered in my straw man's name. And the cops had stopped him. You know, 17-year-old kid at the time. You know, he went and put a straight pipe in the thing. It's a diesel truck, you know, so they have a straight pipe anyways. But his was 4 inches wide, and it made a little more noise. And, you know, I mean, the 17-year-old kid, I mean, he likes to rot around and all the rest of it. And so the cops stop him all the time. And the first thing they say, well, who owns this truck? And they say, my dad owns it. They never give him a ticket. Never give him a ticket. There are at least 2 and possibly more classes of citizens in all common law countries. And the government has made perfectly good laws which are technically correct 99% of the time. Because we have given all of our servants in the government the right to presume certain things, the burden is now on us to defeat those presumptions. I mean, we did it. It's our own fault that they're confused. Really. The best way to defeat any presumption is go on the attack. Presumptions are all taken under martial law. The fact that they are presuming anything is proof that you're in a martial law jurisdiction and they have no authority whatsoever. Not a shred of authority. Matter of fact, when I go to the border, I'm working on training the Canadian customs. But on the US side, there's a lot more than me that's doing it down there. And when I go to the border, I don't show them a passport. I don't show them nothing. I roll the window down and I say, I demand to see your statutory and delegated authority to unlawfully arrest me like you just did. And they say, get out of here. And I go. That's it. Have a nice day. So they don't have any authority. They operate completely under the color of law. Right now, we have provided the government reason to believe that we are not sovereign. The government is operating on that assumption based on prima facie evidence that we ourselves have provided. Prima facie, at first look. It's Latin for at first look. It's interesting. All these, in the law, the words that they like to use, are always Latin. Which, I mean, isn't that from Rome? And mortgages are all Roman law. I got a 3-volume set, a book on Roman law in America, and it talks about mortgages and all the stuff that's going on these days. That's all Roman law. It's basically, I mean, it's like the book of Revelations, you know, how the Holy Roman Empire is, you know, all the rest of it. But, and that's a whole other subject, you know, that I could get into. But anyways, We have to build a prima facie case that is admissible as evidence in court that we're sovereign and they're a servant. Have to build more than a prima facie case. We gotta basically, matter of fact, I shouldn't say prima facie, I gotta take that out of there. We have to build a case. In today's world, in order to be truly sovereign, you must be prepared to force the issue up to and including court. In Rome, they had slaves because they were not prepared to live free or die. In the modern world, you do not have to die for your freedom, but the attitude helps. Rule number 1 is educate yourself. You know, you can't, I would never expect anyone to just take my word for this and go out and start doing it. Never, ever, ever do that. You have to educate it. You are the one that's responsible. You have to educate yourself and assert your own rights. And I would hope that you would go from this meeting and learn about what we're talking about and maybe take some positive steps towards asserting yourself. But you have to be the one. You are the one that's the king and the queen. I can't be there. If they come and get you and do something to you, I'm not gonna be there. You gotta be able to articulate the arguments. You gotta be able to explain it to them. You're on your own. You really are. And if I'm around, you know, I'll do everything I can to help you out. But I could be in Texas or someplace, you know? And so you have to be comfortable with it. You have to understand it. You have to live it. You know, doing this stuff is not, that's why I say, you cannot just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. You have to live it. You have to be the king. When something happens to the king, what does the king do? The king says, off with their head. And then what happens? Off with their head. That's what happens. That's the way you gotta do. You gotta be. And that's one reason on my notice and demands, okay? It's a demand. It's not negotiable. I'm the king. I'm ordering you to do this. It's not negotiable. And on my documents, it says non-negotiable across the top. This is a demand, you know? I used to be in the Canadian Armed Forces, and I was out here in the mail, I was telling you. And when I was listening to Rice McLeod, that's what he said, sovereign's demand. And it really came home to me, because I remember when I was in the Canadian Armed Forces, I got this piece of paper that was a demand. And I can't remember, it was they wanted something. You know, I had to go get something. But it said a demand across the top. It was a form letter, but it was demand across the top. And I had to go get something. So I went and got it and brought it out and did whatever. You see what I'm saying? But the point is that it's a demand, and sovereign's demand. And it's not negotiable. You're the king. And they know it. They know it. We are in this position because our parents and grandparents did not understand the issues. You need to study out the issues. Most lawyers do not understand the law. According to former Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, 70 to 90%, 75 to 90% of all trial lawyers are either incompetent, dishonest, or both.
Liars.
Yeah, liars is a better way.
Or
Dishonest.
Liars.
When you have an officer of the court representing you in court, you've turned yourself into a ward of the court. A ward of the court's an imbecile. That's true. Corpus Juris Secundum, Section 7. Ultimately, the responsibility rests with you. You must accept responsibility for your own actions. You must prepare for your future. Sovereign citizens receive nothing from the government. Anytime you make application for anything, you're going there on your knees begging for something from the government. You're telling them that I'm one of your subjects. Can I please have something, master? You cannot get anything from the government. If you're going to be the king, you got to be the king. Be the king or the queen. Yes.
Just had a quick question. I can't remember the name of that county you said the filings were in for the criminal complaints.
Pinell County?
How do you spell that again?
Pinal